Welcome back, folks. Ash Taters here. So, I've been asked this question a bit since I've been making a lot of videos about whether or not I think people should summon or save for certain units. And people are asking me, well, what units are you saving for? So, today I'm going to answer that question. My philosophy in this game is obviously summon for the ones you want and then save for the ones you want later. But I think there's a lot of temptation in this game, right? When new units comes out, people are naturally inclined to try to get the new units. For me, my main goal in this game, besides having a lot of fun, is to try to get the limited time units. I really enjoy certain games, like for example Final Fantasy Tactics, Chrono Triggers are my favorite games. So ideally I would like to get those units if the game presents those units to me. But at the same time, there are certain units in certain collabs, if they're going to be considered limited time units, I will want those as well, especially if it's a really solid unit for the way I play this game. And for me, I'm a big emphasizer on, is that a word, emphasizer? I place big emphasis on tank units and support units, because attack units tend to suffer from power creeping or mon inflation, or whatever term you want to use. Basically, companies, especially in gacha games, they have to release new units constantly. And when they release newer attack units years down the road after the initial release of the game, they have to make those units more powerful, at least give people the perception that they're more powerful. Or else, why would people keep trying to upgrade, right, their attackers? So, but tanky units and support units tend to age well. I guess that's probably the best word, is that they age better. So for me, I always want to aim for tank units. So having said all that, my next main unit I really want to get would be Warrior of Light from the Final Fantasy I collaboration. Today, I'm also using Ultimate.jp as a resource to pull up all of his stats and skills and whatnot. My recommendation to folks is usually based off of hard data rather than simply just speculations or what other people has deemed as a powerful unit on their tier lists, their rankings and whatnot. So without further ado, let's go ahead and pull out some stats. Here we are. As you can see, the stats I'm using from the website does a very good job of ranking in terms of raw data. And what that means is they give you a placement of where this unit's stats compare to the other units, right? So for example, his 2,952 hit points is ranked 3rd among all the 75 units that are available currently on the Japanese server. The movement and jump are very poor. They're not very good. But at the same time, when I showcase his abilities, some of that may be negated somewhat. His attack is actually really good, 233, ranked 22, and his luck is 157, which is actually really good for dodging. So as you can see, the next sets of stats are based off of what he can obtain from his grid. He gets +8 defense, +6 spirit, and he also gets 15% HP and more luck, 66 luck. So since he is a tanky unit, all of those stats make perfect sense. Now, he has 3 job classes. First one being Warrior of Light or Light Warrior. Second one being, I believe, Spellblade. And the third one, I'm not exactly sure, and I don't remember, because clearly the third job isn't even relevant. You just unlock it because you have to unlock the grid, and then you unlock the job because you want to give him more stat boost. And I think build-wise, nobody really even looks at the third job. And I support that idea, because I'm going to show you right here the Supportability Build. So the first one, the beginning warrior, comes from his first main job, Warrior of Light. The second one comes from Spellblade. And then the reaction ability, it's more defensive oriented. So let's take a look at the first one. Maximum multiplier, 12% HP, 12 defense from the beginning warrior. So that's really good right there, right? Stat padding on defensive stats. Next one increases attack resistance and darkness resistance by 12%. Can't go wrong there. And then the last one, probability of proccing if he takes damage, increases defense by 10 for 3 turns. And that's, of course, at max level. They really should have a probability of these proc rates, right? Nobody really sees them. But my understanding is the higher the bravery, the higher chance of proccing. So let's go ahead and talk about his Trustmaster. His Trustmaster is the ability to... What am I saying, ability? It does have ability, but let's look at the name here. Gauntlet of Light, stats-wise, 322 HP, accuracy 18, evasion 8, and crit evasion 8. Those are really solid stats for defense, of course. He is a tank. And the crit evasion, I think not a lot of people look at. But I think that is something important to think about when you're a tank. You're going to clearly take damage. But ideally, you want to also not get critted, right? Because I think crit increases by, I think, 20%, 25%. Correct me if I'm wrong down in the comment below. Extra when you're hitting someone. So, and then his... Well, here's one thing I always think about when I look at Trustmasters in this game. I know a lot of people rank Trustmasters, and personally, you know, you kind of have to use that judgment on your own because each of us are limited to how many units we can build at a time. And so if you whales are telling you which ones you should go for and you don't have the capability to do so, those tier lists means nothing to you. So my suggestion is when you take a unit that you have physically obtained and you want to look out to see if this character is worth building, Trustmaster should be a big component of that decision. Usually my opinion is when you look at a Trustmaster, see if they have an ability and see if that ability is good for your team, good for your compositions. Because generally a Trustmaster with an ability tends to be a Trustmaster that's more worth building because that ability can swing battles in your favor. In this case, the Trustmaster ability is increase the HP for 3 turns and recovers that amount and automatically recovers TP. So at max, you're up limit of 30% HP gain and TP of 10%. Now, those are some crazy good numbers if you max it out. So, is this Trustmaster really good? I would say it's really good, right? Because one, it synergizes very well with his unit. It increases HP and it increases TP, which means that he can do more things. So, therefore, it's really good on that. And plus, on top of it, his stats makes perfect sense for him. It's lots of HP. It helps him with accuracy. So if you want to equip him with swords that can do, say, status ailments, that's a really good synergy. So overall, this Trustmaster, it's really, really good in my opinion because of the synergy aspect. Now, let's talk about his limit burst and his master ability. Now, besides being a super defensive tank, he also can do a lot of damage. I've seen a lot of Japanese players creating content on YouTube. In some of their arena videos, they're showcasing Warrior of Light doing really good damage. And his limit burst does 3 consecutive hits and also increases protect and shell for himself. That's pretty good, right? That synergizes really well. This character has super solid synergy. And I think that's what makes him so attractive for me. Because one, he's a good physical tank and he's a good magic tank. He's already completing 2 roles that I really need. On top of it, he actually does solid damage. So, again, he's pretty much a super hybrid character. His master ability increases attack by 20% and more defense by 5. That's, again, you can't really complain about it. And let's take a look at his resistance. Resistance slash 25%. However, he is weak to pierce. And currently, I don't think there's any dark piercing units. But if there were, that's something to really keep in mind. And maybe your goal is to take out that unit first. He is susceptible to piercing negative 20%. And it makes perfect sense because, as some of you may know, I'm a huge fan of Lego. And I'm a huge fan of Lego Castle. Pretty much that's the only theme I collect. And I'm pretty much inspired by medieval themes. You know, some of you guys may know that heavy knights usually have plate armor they can take a lot of damage from like swords and axes and clubs and whatnot, but they are weak to piercing, right? So like a melee weapon with a pinpoint in one of the ends, it's most likely going to pierce that heavy plated armor and do a lot of damage. So in this case, this design makes perfect sense to me. Fisting damage, they have a resistance of 5, shooting 15%, and of course magic 5%. He also has abnormal condition resistance to darkness by 50% and confusion 10%. And I don't know what Danbu is, but I assume that's disabled because that makes somewhat sense. But because it's a Japanese server, the translation, I'm not sure. But anyways, whatever that is, 50%. I'm guessing disabled because that makes sense. And then darkness. Actually, somebody would tell me that. Maybe if Cabbage watches this video, he can give me some input on that. Darkness, 10%. He is a light unit, so. So resistance-wise, he is very strong. Now, I do wish I had a Whisper. And Whisper is a dark unit. But Whisper is probably considered one of the better magic tanks. Because she has such high resistance. But she also has high resistance to like pretty much all the melee attacks as well. But her weakness really... Oh my god, so sorry. Her weakness, in my opinion, really is the fact that she has low HP. Her pool of HP is pretty low. So I think that's where Warrior of Light comes in to be more of a heavier, tanky unit. I do hope eventually I can pull Whisper as well, and I will build her for sure to finish my Trinity Sisters. Let's see here. Alright, the last thing I want to talk about will be, of course, his abilities. So this one here is going to be pretty much, I'm only going to go over the his main job ability. So the first one is the one where here says he can pull hate, increases defense, increases spirit for 3 turns. That's really amazing because everyone's using currently Vow of Love to draw hate, but this one's an ability. So as he's putting out hate, he's putting out 12 hate. Vow of Love is only 5. So basically, if you had this ability and you trigger the ability, you don't really need the Vow of Love, right? And so when we have the ability to turn on and off abilities, this is something you definitely want to keep on an arena. And it's a great way to attract the enemy units to attack him. The next one is where I feel like it kind of negates some of his mobility issues. It's the one where, he, much like Thancred, he will do small damage, but he will teleport himself right to kind of like, it's kind of like the opposite of Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. You know how, you know, Scorpion does the get over here and he pulls that unit enemy to him. Well, this one he pulls himself towards the enemy unit, so he's kind of like sort of mini teleporting to that unit. And that's a great skill because let's say he's in the back ranks for some reason because your other units are moving a little bit farther ahead. He can just use this skill to kind of pull himself to the front line. Now, he is going to be the main focus of enemy units because if you equip him with Vow of Love, he's going to draw some hate. And then if he can get his first ability out there, then he's going to draw even more hate. So very good synergy unit. I feel like they designed this unit, in my opinion, near perfectly, right? So overall, this is definitely the unit I'm going for. I'm not sure when it's going to be released. Preferably within the next month. My guess is maybe July. But remember, this is just a guess. I'm not I'm not a developer, so whatever I say is just speculations. And don't take it 100% as a fact. You know, until they actually release a real update telling us when, you know, that's official. Mine is just speculation like most people. Hopefully soon, though, because I really want to spin my jams, because hopefully I can also get Whisper along the way. But one thing I also want to kind of bring out is, you know, keep in mind that don't just worry about, you know, aiming for UR units, because I recently read on Reddit that a lot of people are talking about they're being very disappointed at this game because if they're just concentrated building on their units, UR units, it's going to take months, 3 to 11 months to finish one whole team. Well, the purpose of the different rarity in the characters is you have to really start strategizing and start thinking outside of the box. Clearly, you guys are watching this video and you see that I'm putting Zazan on my team and really hardcore pushing him because he has really good abilities and he's actually fairly cheap. at the investment of 3 rainbow rocks, he has an ability that's considered one of the most overpowered abilities in the game. The ability to simply charm an enemy unit. That unit fights for you for 3 turns on your team. That is really powerful, right? In a game that's designed where a lot of times you are outnumbered, that can turn the battle in your favor quickly. And having different units that can do that ability, it's going to be amazing, and it's going to be very fun to watch. And then the other thing is, don't just look at a rarity unit also simply on stats. I know I like to show off stats because that's something you can physically gauge. But also look at their abilities and what other units they synergize with, right? Synergy is so important. It's like, I used to play basketball for fun a lot. I know one thing is, even though you might think an opponent is going to be really good, and it turns out that team you're playing against isn't really that good because they don't have good chemistry. Maybe their shooter is a ball hog and refuses to pass the ball, so the team composition is broken down. Or maybe you have a guy who dribbles the ball all the time and doesn't even want to pass the ball. So the point is, chemistry makes a big difference in team makeup. And it's always a good idea to take your time to do the research to see what combinations you can create. And don't just simply judge a unit by the UR level or the R level or the MR level, whatever. You know, look at their skills and see overall if those units synergize better with others. For example, a support unit always will synergize with pretty much most units. In certain units like the Zazan character, which can charm people, it fits really well as a crowd control unit on your team, right? And so again, open up your mind. And that's what this game caters to. There are so many units for a reason. In my opinion, this game is not a hero collector. It's more of like, well, it is a strategy game, right? It's more like you have to really pick and choose the units you want to build to best fit your playing style, your strategy, your way of thinking. I really hope in the future that I highlight arenas on compositions of enemy defenses, because I fought so many teams that I felt like, that team doesn't look impressive, and they beat me down because their synergy is so well thought out. And it really impresses me how some people really think outside of the box and really create solid teams because they know it can work. And that's the beauty of this game. It really can give you that opportunity to really create something magical here. Pun intended, by the way. Anyways, so that's the unit I'm going for personally in the near future. Of course, hopefully and praying other super collabs will come out like Chrono Trigger, Romancing Saga, all those different games or whatever. I already made a video about, you know, what are your dream collabs and dream units. If you haven't done so, check that video out. But anyways, I think that's enough time for this video. Until next time, take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones. Nash Taters out.